Rounding decimals. There's a couple ways that we can round decimals. And when I say round decimals, that means if you want to round a decimal to a whole number, you would basically round it either up or down to the nearest whole number. And then sometimes we round it to the nearest tenth or the nearest hundredth. And in this lesson, that's what we're going to look at. So if you have a decimal, you have a place value in the ones right there. You have a place value for the tenths, hundredths, and it could keep going, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. Okay, what we want to do is explore first if you have a decimal on a number line, and then we'll show a different way to round decimals. So let's look at this number line. I'm going to label this 3.6, 3.7, 3.8, and 3.9. And we're going to look at the decimal 3.87, so 3 and 87 hundredths. And we want to round it to the nearest tenth. So 3.87, well, it's not going to be between 3.6 and 3.7. We're not going to need to look at that. Or 3.7 and 3.8. 3.87 would be between 3.8 and 3.9. Halfway between would be 3.5. Then you have 3.6, 3.7, or 3.86, 3.87, 3.88, 3.89, and then 3.9. So 3.87 would be 3.85, 6, 7. It would be right here. That's 3.87. 3 and 87 hundredths. And we want to round it to the nearest tenth. So we have 3.8. That's one of the tenths that's kind of close by. And then 3.9. So we have 3 and 9 tenths or 3 and 8 tenths. Well, at 3.85, that's halfway between the two. And you see that 3.87 is actually closer to 3.9. So that's what we're going to round it to. 3.87 rounds up to 3.9. Let's look at 1 on the number line, and then we'll explore a different way to round. I want to round 1.3 to the nearest 1. Okay, let's look at a number line. We have 0, we have 1, we have 2, and we have 3. And where does 1.3 go? Well, we know it's more than 1, and it's less than 2. And here is 1.5. That would be halfway between 1 and 2. So then we have 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5, 1.6, 7, 8, 9, and then 2. So 1.3 would actually be right here, 1.3, 1 and 3 tenths. And we want to round it to the nearest 1. So that's the nearest number in the ones place. So we have either a 1 or a 2. And if you notice, 1.5 is halfway between, and 1.3 is halfway between 1 and 1.5. So the closest 1 that's closest to it is 1. So we're going to round 1.3, 1 and 3 tenths, down to 1. Okay, now we want to round the decimal to the digit or the place value that is underlined. So in this first one, 3 and 23 hundredths, 3.23, we want to round it to the tenths digit because the 2 is underlined. So what you do is you look at the digit to the right of the 2, and you see, is that closer to 0 or is it closer to 10? Well, the 3 is actually closer to 0. And if you write all the digits between 0 and 10, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are all the digits it could have been, but it's a 3, and that's actually closer to 0 than it is to 10. So we're going to round this number to 3.2. The 2 is actually going to stay the same. We're not going to round it down to a 1, because on a number line, remember, 3.23 is between 3 and 4. So we want to round it to the nearest tenth, and 3.2 would be the nearest tenth. So really, the number line you would look at would be 3.2 and 3.3. And then you have 3.25 in the middle. And 3.23 would be about there, which is closer to 3.2. So we're going to round it to 3.2. Okay, let's look at the next one. 6.8 or 6.485. And that's 6 and 485 thousandths. And we want to round it to the hundredths place because the 8 is underlined. Well, you look at the 8 and then you look at the digit to the right. And the rule here is if the digit to the right is 5 or greater, you round up. So 6.485 will actually round to 6.49 because the digit to the right of the 8 is a 5, and if it's 5 or greater, you round up. So the 8 goes up to a 9. If it was less than 5, if it was 6.484, you would round down, so it would stay an 8. But in this case, since it's 5 or greater, you round up. Okay, this next one, the 6 is underlined. So you look at the digit to the right, and if it is less than 5, then you round down, so it stays a 6. So the 2.83619 will round to 2.836. Okay, this last one, 5.961, and the 9 is underlined. So you look at the number to the right, and if it's 5 or greater, you're going to round up. Now in this case, the 9 will have to go up to a 10, and you can't write a 10 there. So the 1 is going to carry over to the 1's place. So it'll become 6.0, or 6 and 0 tenths. Now you can write it as 6.0 or you can write it as 6, but I would leave the 0 tenths in there since you're rounding to the nearest tenths. If it said round to the nearest whole number, then you would write the 6, but since it's rounding to the nearest tenths, you want to make sure that your answer includes a digit in the tenths place. Sometimes you want to round to the leading digit. And let me explain what that is. If we had a decimal, let's say it's 0.0003937, the leading digit is the non-zero digit farthest to the left. So in this case, it's that 3. It's the 3 in the tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths place. And when it says round to the leading digit, that's the place where we're going to round to. That's the digit that we're going to round. So what you do, you follow the same rules as rounding other decimals. You look at the number to the right, the digit to the right of the leading digit. And since it's greater than 5, it's 5 or greater, it's a 9, we're going to round up. So that number is going to round to 0.0004. The 3 is going to round up to a 4. So that's rounding to the leading digit. And again, the leading digit is the non-zero digit farthest to the left.